touch. We're getting a little bit of your, just a notch. We'll get more of you and less of the ceiling. Perfect. Now, Mr. Gundlach, thank you so much for joining us, and I'm going to lead you through because I've done a bad job, if you don't mind. I'm going to ask you some questions so that these students know a little bit about your background and where you're at. And then I'll let you share your thoughts, and they have some questions. You should know that there are currently 13 students in this class, and on Tuesday, they had their first ever SAE visit, and we brought first-year ag students from neighboring schools. They came to campus. They sat down with these young people, for my college students, for 40 minutes, designed an introductory plan to SAE, and then went and participated in the career fair that the college puts on. So, but this is their third session to learn about SAE total for these future teacher candidates. And so they have a lot of questions. They're trying to make some meaning of how to make everything work. And I was so excited they get to talk with you and your expertise. First question, Keith. How long have you taught high school agriculture?
This is my 39th year.
39th year. And if I was telling the students, you had attempted to retire, but there wasn't an available teacher, and so they had you back. Is that correct?
Yep, I'm back for a year or as long as it takes, I guess. Our announcements are going on here for the school, so just 30 seconds.
Thank you. We thought that was a technology glitch on our end, so we were starting to look, but we understand. And as we talk about your program, could you tell them how large your high school is?
Our high school is about 175 students. Cambria Friesland down the road that sends their students here for ag has 100 students.
And so the name of your FFA chapter is?
Randolph Cambria Friesland. It's Randolph for our school, and Cambria Friesland is the neighboring school that sends their students here. So we combine the FFAs. We ran two separate in 87, 88, 88, 89. We just made one FFA.
And so that's basically three communities coming together for the RCF. Is that how y'all refer to it shorthand, as RCF?
FFA, yes.
Okay. And I'll step back now because I wanted to get some of those basic descriptors out. But I'd like for you, this is my last question, and you can share some thoughts if you want to. When you're ready, we can go to their questions. But they, I'd like for you to describe
Gasville at 2 p.m.
facilities
program,
because you have a unique land lab, you have a unique foundation, some things that just don't exist elsewhere in the nation. And I thought you'd start by maybe describing your program a little bit of those unique factors, and then talking about some of the successes that you've had in FFA. I call it the brag list, which I love. Like boom, we've had this many proficiency award winners, this many national finalists and stars, and so forth. So I'll turn it over to you to describe your program, and I'm pushing you to brag. I want you to brag on you and your program and the great things your students have done. All about some of those successes.
All right. Well, it really, to tell you the truth, took me probably 10 years to put the SAM perspective where it should be. We always had them, but not to the extent I wanted. But the program has built itself. We have a 40-acre land lab. I have students work there, anywhere between 10, 15 students that work there. We pay them a wage. It costs us about $5,500 a year in wages. We have a greenhouse at the high school, an animal lab at the high school. We have our own agriculture and FFA foundation. It's worth a little over $500,000. That's $270-some thousand in property and about $230,000 in cash. That's where the interest comes from that we pay these students with. We also have an exchange program with an agricultural high school in Austria. We just had 2 students here from there for 3 weeks, and our students will go there next June for 3 weeks. They graduate over there on the 4th of July, so we'll be there the last few weeks of high school. Haven't decided if I'm going yet, because if you've been there once, you've been there a dozen times. But like, our students have been successful. We've had 8 American Star finalists for the American degree, 3 winners. couple near misses as far as being a star finalist. I think we've had 130 some state proficiency winners, and we have 4 proficiency finalists this year. That'll make, I think, 65 finalists. The kids are really into SAEs. We'll have over 20 national SAE grants this year. Those are pretty well done, except for a final recommendation on my part. They look pretty good, and they're not due for 2 weeks, so they got time to polish them. We've had probably 35 or 40 state star finalists for their state degree, and 20 some winners, I would guess. So we've been pretty fortunate, but we have a lot of tools and things to work with. The students are into advocacy. They send we do a 64-page FFA Week newsletter and mail 3,000 every home in the 2 school districts that feed our program. And we do a monthly update. The president does. I assume, Dr. Foster, you're getting them. I don't.
I am. I enjoy reading them every time. And in fact, I just sent the September-October update to these students so they could see it before this session.
Oh, that's good, because I don't always check to see what they're going out. He goes, yeah, got it done. Don't worry. So every now and then I have to check. But we're pretty strong on advocacy. That goes to it goes to Dr. Foster and UW Platteville, UW River Falls. Sometimes all our sponsors. I have a lot of businesses where students work. They get one, and then our scholarship sponsors get one, as well as the legislatures at the state assembly and state senate who serve this district. So we have a lot of toys, but it takes a little much to keep track of it. And to tell you the truth, it's the SAE that publicizes the program. It really is. So you should realize that if you get into teaching ag, it's the SAE, and whether you're successful on the state level or not, it's that SAE element that will make your program well known, because it's based on visits here. I visited students for probably 5 hours, 6 hours last week, and I will do that again after school tonight and this coming Saturday. But you have to, in the fall, it's harvest time. So the SAE part of your program is going to be a part of the success you have as a teacher. The 3-circle model, the SAE, is as important as the FFA in the classroom. So that's about it in a nutshell, I think. I don't know if I forgot anything.
You shared credit, but I know those numbers went fast, and I don't know if they caught them all, but that's okay. They understand perhaps the scope of where we're going. So I want to turn back to you guys, because I know that you came with some questions. Who would like to take the hot seat first? So speak with Mr. Gundlach and share your question.
Just like freshmen.
They're just talking about that. So remember to introduce yourself, where you're at in your program or what your program is, and your question.
All right. Hi, Mr. Gundlach. My name is Miranda Kane. I'm an Ag Ed student here, junior. And my question was just more so, how do you facilitate your time, and like how do you, I guess, manage like other students' projects and kind of adapt to everyone's needs within that area?
Well, I send, and I would gladly send out, I put it on the listserv, I send out an SAE survey. I send that out in early May. I also send that out when school starts, probably the first or second week. It tells me if there's been any changes in the SAE and where they're at. I schedule visits in May, and I schedule them by telling the students, I will see you, and then when I see them depends on their SAE. Obviously, if they have wheat, you're going to see them during harvest time or something like that. So all my students have an SAE, and to tell you the truth, some freshmen and sophomores have babysitting ones for a little while, and they become home and community improvement. Are they ever going to shine on the state level? Probably not, but some of those things grow in. There's always some home and community improvement. So I survey my students. I make sure I know what they do. And sometimes I get a surprise, if someone works at the feed mill and then you find out on that survey they're also into hunting, trapping, and wildlife, then you follow that up. So, and we have a short conversation. I'm putting all my students in AET. I used my own record book for years, and I still like it because it's got an hourly log, but we're transferring that now. So I guess I survey them in the answer to your question, and that works good because it lets me know where I have to spend the time. A lot of SAEs, you'll find as they get older, they regulate themselves, but you always stop in and check once or twice, so those visits are shorter. When I go to a place the first time, I'll take a state proficiency application along with me and show them what they can become if they buy into the system. So I don't know if I answered your question, but that's how I monitor it here.
So Keith, if you wouldn't mind sending me that survey again, I'm afraid I try to stay on the Wisconsin listserv. I think I may have missed that one, though. I'd like to share it with the students.
Sure, I'll send that.
And that's wonderful. And I just heard you say that you're transitioning to AET. These students have been learning about AET. They have an assignment as part of this class, and that's a program or platform that Pennsylvania's adopted, and so we try to make it more. What are your thoughts on AET?
Well, I didn't think it handled fixed assets very well in depreciation, but you can make that work. It's the wave of the teacher. I do workshops for Wisconsin teachers, and they haven't all bought into it yet. I told them, I said, people, it's here to stay. You don't have to marry it, but you have to sleep with it once in a while. That's what I told them, and they're coming around. I do workshops on AET quite a bit. When I retire, I'm going to help Jeff Hicken out in that department, I think. So it's here to stay. It really is. It does a good job. I don't like some parts of it, but I'm on the National SAE Committee, and we'll make some suggested changes in the resume and a few other things to clean it up and make it sharper.
Wonderful. Next question. I don't want to monopolize y'all's time. Thank you, Matt.
Hey, my name's Matthew Ryder. I'm a junior in ag education. And my question is it's actually about the record system. And since you kind of already touched on it, I figured it's a good time to ask this. I'm curious about how you manage so much. Like I'm worried about like losing track of things. So I'm wondering how you manage all your records. I kind of want to hear what you did maybe a little bit before AET, and then like with you and you as the teacher and the students, and then how do you keep good accountability?
All right. I devised my own record system a long time ago. As a matter of fact, Dr. Foster reminded me, and I'll send you the electronic version there. It's on an Excel spreadsheet, and the kids run them off. They keep it by hand. It was excellent. A lot of ag teachers in Wisconsin use it yet. It works pretty slick. Managing them, well, a good program will have all SAEs. I make sure that every student keeps a record book. The freshmen now have one AET day a week for a while. I can't afford any more time than that. But, you know, the younger they are, the faster they catch on. So managing it, the students have to self-manage themselves a little bit. I'll do periodic record checks. My chapter's not all AET yet because the older students' records are on the record book. And I'll send that to you, Dr. Foster. It's Excel spreadsheets. They're on that yet, but their records have to go into AET. So putting them in takes a little bit of time because you have to transfer non-current assets. So when a cow has a calf, you know it's current, then you have to transfer that in and it becomes non-current. So that's what confuses a lot of teachers, and it confuses my students. So you have to be persistent, some kind of a bulldog, but once your students buy into the SAE and what it can do for them, they're actually eager to do it. You know, I said some of you should fill out an SAE grant, and you know, like 20 kids raised their hand. Well, you can't get 20 SAE grants done unless the kids can do a large part of them, and they have the records for the budget. That's where they need the help, but they have to assume part of the responsibility. I have an intern this semester. You know, we just had our fall district in service, and And Jeff Hicken asked people to talk about SAEs, and I kept my mouth shut. And then Jeff said, well, what do you think, Keith? And I told him, and I said, this is my intern, and she's been assigned one AET placement proficiency and one AET entrepreneurship proficiency. And I'm going to fail her if she doesn't do them. And she got really nervous. And then I said, I'll help her with them. She comes from a program whose teacher's been retired 3 years, a good friend of mine, but not strong on SAEs at all. And so because she came from a program that wasn't strong on SAEs, she's not strong. And if she doesn't get that experience as a student teacher, she will never do it. So determination and getting the kids exposed to them will help them develop a lot of the effort and supervision and be self-supervised, I think. I don't know if that gives you any clue to it, but I'll send you the old record book, and that's what we do now with the new one. Hopefully within 3 years, my sophomores are in AET, hopefully within 3 years they can do it. As they keep their record books in AET, of course, the ag instructor, every change they make, I can view when I want to in AET. So as they create their own application, I automatically see them. And it's nice because the freshmen all created them. They look terrible so far, but they'll get there.
Thank you for sharing that, Mr. Gundlach. I want to follow up, though, with a couple of questions. One of the concerns is really management of time as an instructor. And so you share how you recorded students, but talk to us about how you allocate your time, maybe even how, if you won't mind sharing about what your contract looks like, how are you compensated for your time to make this SAE program work? And, you know, one of the concerns for young teachers when they see all this is how do they find balance? How do you figure out a way to balance being a great classroom teacher and an FFA advisor and do SAE correctly and, oh, by the way, maybe have a life outside the ag program? Talk to us about your thoughts on that.
Well, let me see. Most ag teachers have a 40-day extended contract. I have a 60 and at 80% pay. I have a 68-day extended contract at 100% pay. So if it's June 17th and I'm out doing SAE visits, I get the pay the same as when I'm in the classroom. They also pay me 2 weeks paid vacation. And they don't care if I log where I am because we don't care where you are and what you're doing because we know you're doing that. I've switched my time. A lot of my days during the year are 15, 16 hours, but I've switched my time. I start between around 2:45 in the morning now, and then I try to get done at 7:30 at night. So, you know, that's a 16-hour day. Some of that is social. When you've taught 3,500 students, everybody in town stops to visit. And so if I stay after school for 3 hours, I get nothing done. So, however, if I'm here from 3:30 till, 6:30 or 7:30, I get a whole pile done. Although 4:30 to 5:30 is my time down at the restaurant to socialize. So there's a time commitment I have to make, but we have more. The students will manage a whole pile of it, but they still need supervision. I'm a firm believer that nothing should go out of this program with a mistake. And I'm sure, Dr. Foster, there's a few grammar errors in those updates once in a while, but I don't catch them all. So I like to manage and do that. But, Austria, the land lab, the animal lab, the greenhouse, we do have a lot. So this program would take somebody 65 or 70 hours a week, or they would have to drop something. I'll be honest with you. I'm trying to make it more self-sustaining. As our foundation grows, we'll have more interest money, and they'll do that. But the board is open to an intern every semester, and I'm not opposed to that, so that would reduce my time. I'm getting more done now because I have an intern, and she's teaching 3 classes right now, so I only have 4. That's kind of nice. So I do have 7 classes a day. They're all different. So managing time, 12, 14 hours I have to work, but part of that social time. Don't get me wrong, I know everybody in town.
And so just to kind of make sure I remember correctly, there's 175 students in the high school, and how many in your ag program?
Well, there's 175 in high school and 100 in Cambria's high school, and out of that we have 140 of them in ag a day.
Very good, very good. What are the questions that you'd like to ask? Okay.
Mr. Gundlach, my name is Michael. I'm a master's student studying agriculture and extension education. I just had a question about maybe some of the students that are new to the program that don't have an interest. What ways do you help them understand all the opportunities that are out there in agriculture? Help them, develop an interest and then go from there.
As I said, I do the survey, and then that indicates an area they might be interested in. Out of the 47 proficiencies, we probably have sample applications in 40 plus of them. And in the areas where we had state winners, probably 40 different areas we've had a state winner. So we're pretty diversified in agriculture here. But I'll take that sample proficiency, I'll give that to that student and show them what they can do. Now, sometimes they're not really interested, but they might be a good greenhouse manager, or they might be a good animal person, or they might want to work at the land lab. I've had students that have absolutely no interest in the classroom turn into be some of the best workers at the land lab as possible. So you kind of coax them into it if they have potential. There are a lot of things in the AET, like a record book and logging, their personal profile, and journaling that they do, and they really get into that. So you can get them hooked without them knowing it, if I could use that terminology. They like that. The freshmen, 8th graders like that time with the AET, and that will get them hooked if you could show them what it can do. They like to having their pictures taken, a lot of them. And if it's simple, you can start simple and make it grow. I've never had a student that wanted nothing to do with ag all the way through. Sometimes you get them because there's no place for them to go in their schedule, but they come around. So you've got to feed them to their interest, I guess I would say that. So I've never had one that I can't get involved in something.
Excellent. Other questions that you have? I'm going to push back a little bit here. Mr. Gundlach, could you share, we've heard all these great successes and we know the program was wonderful, but you did mention at the beginning that it took a few years to figure out how SAE could hum in your program. I guess I'd like you to share maybe, like an old rodeo cowboy, one of those wrecks. Tell us about one of those things or challenges that you faced with SAEs, or when things didn't go as planned. You're like, holy smokes, I hope that doesn't happen again. Share about some of the lowlights.
Well, sometimes when you have new parents on that first visit, it's a little difficult, and that would be like in, let's see, when we see her, the late 80s. I went to visit a person I knew I had great potential, and I actually went to the farm, and the dad met me, and he wanted to know who I was, and I explained to him he was actually going to be a school choice from a neighboring school district, and never had a background, didn't know anything about the program. And so I told him, the ag teacher, and the first words out of his mouth, "What the hell are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I'm here to see Mike." And he goes, "What for?" And I'd like to talk to him. He said, "Well, I think you better leave." And so I left. And then I mailed him a copy of the sample proficiency application. Said, "Just like to stop by one time again." And he said, when I got back there, he said, "Well, what the hell are you here for now?" And I said, "Well, did you look at that?" "No." So we opened it up, and I said, "Your son could stand on stage and be a state star and agribusiness winner, and your son could be an American star." And he will tell me about those things. And so I did tell him about it. As a matter of fact, his kid was a state star and a national proficiency winner, and a state star, an American star and agribusiness finalist. You can recognize that. Sometimes they'll turn into that. But that dad didn't want anything to do with me because he hadn't been in his ag program that he went to. So that was a slap in my face. I've never been asked to leave a farm before. So you want to go back because that was a good kid. He turned out to be one of the top 20 I've ever had, probably. But I've had that. Failures. Every now and then you have a student that doesn't reach their potential. I had a student that I thought would be good. I was in the hospital 5.5 months and then 3.5 months recovery from a ruptured gallbladder and ERCP that didn't go right. Got down to 148 pounds. I'm fat again, so I feel good. But long story short, I got back after being gone 8 months, and I lost 3 or 4 students. They never got back, and some of them had such great potential. You lose the consistency and don't keep on some, you lose some. And that group graduated last spring, and 5 state degrees from a program with 30-some seniors, is a failure in my mind. I wasn't here, and maybe they would have went the other way if I wasn't here. So that's a part that still bothers me. They graduated last spring. 3 or 4 have shown an interest. They want to get their state degree 1 year out, and that's happened. Some are so busy. Greg Steensema plays in the NBA. Got his state degree 1 year out, and he got his American degree that on time. But sometimes you feel bad because if the student's involved in everything, Spanish club, letter club, 2 sports, band, forensics, sometimes they don't get their 5 things above the chapter level, and we don't have a state degree when they're a senior. Those are failures in my mind, but everybody has priorities, and dates fall the same way. They don't always fall, so you can't. I have 2 students this year that aren't going to get their state degree. Super kids, super employees, they're going to get it 1 year out. They're short 1 thing above the chapter level, and it's football playoffs. And they're from Cambria, Friesland, and they're the quarterback and a running back, and they're not going to miss a playoff game to go to 212, 360. So when students don't achieve what I set out for them to achieve, then I'm a failure, and ag teachers are totally floored. You actually tell a freshman they're going to be a state proficiency winner? I go, yeah, I do that. That's how you motivate them. And some I tell you'll be in the top 5 in the state. I tell them that, and that makes them buy into the records. And sometimes if they don't, then I'm a little disappointed. So I've had my share of them. Don't get me wrong. I mean, things aren't all 100% perfect here. They aren't in any school, and I think a teacher has to realize that.
Keith, I really appreciate your time this morning. The one last question I have for you, and then we'll end on this, is what is that one piece of advice that you give to brand new ag teachers or those considering becoming ag teachers?
You have to put in the time. When I was a first-year teacher, I worked until 10 o'clock every night just to stay a day ahead of the students, and only had 4 classes. Now I have 7. I can teach all week without any night prep time if I have to now. So manage your time and visit those students. Do that survey I'll send you, and that'll indicate what the interest is. If you take a job in June, get a list of the ag students from the office, from the secretary, and their address, mail that, and ask them if they have anything going on in this area, because it has potential, number 1, to make them a lot of money, number 2, to get some state and perhaps national recognition. And then when you get those surveys back, if they send them back, visit the ones who sent them back, give that same survey in the fall, and spend some time after school on the weekend. SAE's success makes a program success, but of course the main thing is the classroom. Teachers have to understand that. Visit. I do it more than most of the ag teachers, and it makes a difference.
Thank you so much for giving up some of your time to talk to us. I hope that I get to run across you again in Louisville next week. Will you be at National Convention?
I'll be at National. We're going down Tuesday. I'm going to visit with the 2 American stars from Texas, 1 from Wisconsin on Wednesday. I'll have 4 proficiency finalists with me. I think that's where I saw you last year, Dr. Foster. we'll be wandering around. I have another teacher that takes a separate van because I'll be, downtown Wednesday night. We have different schedules. So if I don't have that, I can't. So we'll be there with 15, 20 students and 2 teachers, but I'll spend most of my time with the proficiencies. We meet up at night and at the hotel and see what's going on. So yeah, I'll be there. I hope to see you.
Good. I hope to see you too. I'll be downtown too at the Galton, Hilton, and all that Parley Pro stuff. But hey, it's always a pleasure. I appreciate you sharing your knowledge and wisdom, and we'll be in touch. Thank you, sir.
Great to meet you.